Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey. Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to Bringers of the Light Sunday. Welcome. This microphone just seems like a little in a weird spot. Okay, there. I like that better. I finally figured out what was wrong with my microphone. So welcome in, everyone. Settle in. I am going to light a raspberry rose incense and waft it around my house as I go out to my back deck. The weather is, I think, nice enough today where we can sit outside and record this show. I was walking with the dog, and we were walking close to like a wooded area that's right beside the house, has a lot of pine trees. And I was like, man, I don't know what is keeping me from, I used to like just not care, and I would like go grab, any little thing to sit on and just go sit outside in the trees or somewhere and record. And today I looked over there and I was like, am I getting old? Like, I was like gonna say, there's gonna be ticks out there or mosquitoes or something. And I don't know, somehow this area and the bugs is a little over the top. So if it's not super frozen, then there's mosquitoes, lots of mosquitoes because of the melting snow. And when the mosquitoes leave, then the ticks are coming in. So I'm like, I just don't remember all of these things in Texas. Good old Texas. I was feeling the Texas vibes today. I was missing some of my little Texas haunts. We have an interesting chapter today, but first I want to wrap us all. Oh, this raspberry rose smells good. Wrap us all in love light and light love. Inviting the guides who overlight TLC for the soul. Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, the Pleiadians. Actually, they're already here with me because I just now channeled this chapter right before I hit the record button. And I must say, no idea what's going on this week. It seems like a crazy, it seems like it's going to be crazy for some strange reason. So we had see, there's mosquitoes all over my windows. I'm going to open the windows, but there's mosquitoes all over my screens. Even upstairs. Let me just take my raspberry rose and go down here. We had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction yesterday. So I'm recording this on the 21st of April. We have the Scorpio full moon on the 23rd, which is Tuesday. Oh, tomorrow's Earth Day, the good old 22nd, good old twin flame number 22. And then the 25th, so it is an action-packed week in terms of like stuff. On the 25th, Mercury comes out of retrograde. So let's just see, because I feel like the chapter is very succinct, and I feel like I don't have a whole lot to talk about either, because there's some things up in the air too that I want to work on. It feels like, based on the chapter, we're going to read it and we're going to go over the metaphors, but based on what I channeled, it just seems like there's a lot of decisions kind of up in the air. It doesn't, and I did hear another Wayshower talk about this earlier, that it's not a good week, so to speak, to make a lot of big decisions on things. So stuff may come up with this Scorpio full moon to have you look at again, and with Mercury retrograde too, to have you like re-look at stuff. So for example, they brought to me the other day, like, do you really want your Patreon to be the way it is? Do you really again? And when they do that, like, do you really want to have I have 3 tiers. Do you really want 3 tiers? Do you really want to do this in that tier? Do you really want to do that in this tier? And when they do that to me, it throws me off a little bit, because I'm like, well, I had it all figured out. I'm going outside. I had it all figured out, and now you're making me kind of second guess myself. So let's see, I'm going around to the back, and it's kind of windy out here. Let me see if I can go in the sun. Let me go to the other deck. On this big back deck, but there's nowhere for me to sit. So they did that to me, and then I was like, well, I don't know, maybe I don't. And so, yeah, I'm gonna go this way. So then they had me playing these like what if games. So I feel like maybe the energy is gonna start opening up over the next couple of weeks. I have heard way showers, some of them saying that the year of the dragon, not the year of the dragon, but that 2024 almost doesn't feel like it technically starts until May, which was kind of interesting and maybe somewhat true. Oh, I forgot to unlock this other door. Now I got to go all the way back around again. So let's just, oh goodness me, oh my, now the dog sees me. See, so we're already in Sacred Circle with this show. Oh, she's not barking at me. So whatever happens during the show is part of the show. And I know there's some of you that have said, well, I don't want to say what you've said, but what I have said before is everything that happens during the show is part of the show. So if there's areas where it feels like I've just gone off on a tangent and I'm just, speaking about stuff and you're like, what the heck? That's all part of the show. That means anything I say, even if it sounds like it's just, off the cuff, dumb stuff or whatever, there could be metaphors and meanings in there for you. Also, like I've said before, and I re-listened to the Kilimanjaro Ascension Journey. I listened to part 1. There's 3 parts yesterday, because the guides had said we're at Kilimanjaro Base Camp again, and I talked about this in, I don't know what content I put out now, where I said that. And, if you're not listening to everything as it comes out, then you may be a little bit behind. But I don't want to, review everything over and over again in each show. I mean, you just kind of have to catch up if you want to catch up. But in Kilimanjaro Base Camp, I had talked about being a weaver of just weaving things. So if I tell a story, I give a personal experience. I am a master healer, and some of these things are meant to provide you with activations. You may not immediately realize that. It may not come up to you until later. It's meant to evoke certain emotions and bring things to the surface for healing. I've already set intentions that this show is a healing show. Guides come in and do healing work on you as you're listening, if you so desire it. If you don't want that, just say you don't want it. But this show is meant to evoke emotions. If there's any emotions that are of a discord to you, that are not for your highest and greatest good, then I invoke the guides and the healing guides that work with me to go in to anyone listening and remove those things from your field and heal that for you, like you're getting, getting like a free Reiki heal. You're getting like a free car wash of your aura and stuff, so that when you leave this show, you are, you're good to go. It could be the words that I'm saying. Something could sound like, God dang it, could sound motivational. I'm going to knock that dog, I swear. Oh, leave me alone. Everything is meant to evoke something. I'm going to go hide from her. She can see me out the window, so she's upset that I'm out there and she's in there. Okay, I'm going to go over here. So nothing is by happenstance. Nothing I do or say is by coincidence. When I open the show up and I create a circle by inviting in the guides, and everything that happens here is with purpose. When I let my guides or higher self take over what I'm saying, then anything that comes out of my mouth is meant for the collective listening. This is not just some random show where I create an agenda, like I'm going to talk about this and then I'm going to talk about that and I'm going to talk about that. I come in with nothing other than the trust in my guides and my higher self and the divine to guide me to say and weave the story and do the things I need to do during the show to give you all listening what you most need in this now, whether it's a pep talk, feeling good, motivation, a healing, whatever the case, an activation. We're many things here at TLC for the Soul. Again, you listen and you imbibe this content based on your current state of consciousness and your current state of reality. If you come in and you're like, that's stupid, she's not, what? That makes no sense at all. Then that's the experience you're going to have. If you come in and you're like, all right, it's TLC for the Soul. I'm going to sit in sacred space. I'm going to invite in my guides. I'm going to, hang and I'm going to see what comes up. And as we're listening, even if it sounds like it's some, nonsensical explanation about something, there's got to be some, and 100% may not be for you too, right? Some things are meant for some things are meant for other people, and you just take your higher self, just direct your higher self and your guides to take what you most need and leave the rest. But we're very spiritually, technically complex here, and nothing is done without intention. Just like some of my books. So just a quick little thing, and then we're going to get into the story, or the chapter from The Rose of San Juan Capistrano. I started recording Reiki and Rock, the audiobook. So I had started doing Kyanite Fairy Wing a couple months ago, and I was like, I re-looked at the book again, and I'm like, Taurus season just hit the other day, and I'm like, I don't want to do Kyanite Fairy Wing. Kyanite Fairy Wing, while it sounds like it's a book about some fairy girls, is very spiritually, technically complex. There's so much magical spell work and inner mystery school teachings in that book to wrap your head around. And so I was like, oh, like reading this right now, it just feels like it's so much, like it's so heavy with like stuff that I want to be, right? I want a Taurus, it's spring, I want to be lighthearted, Beltane's coming up. And so I picked up Reiki and Rock because it's got some of my favorite concepts in it. It does have some deeper work going on in there too, but it's not so technically complex in all of the invoking of magic and stuff that some of my other books are that have been channeled. All my books are channeled, meaning I have, one of my spiritual gifts is clairaudience. The books just come to me via like automatic writing. One day we can do a session on how, I think I already recorded a session like that a while back, where we did a live channeling and I brought a chapter in. I'll have to go find that and put it in my TLC's favorites playlist. It's on YouTube and Spotify if you're interested in that, because some of you have approached me like, oh, can I channel? Do I know how to do that? And it's like, yes, you do. But there's a process you kind of have to go through to get there. This isn't our first rodeo, just like it's not your first rodeo. The show has been around for 6 years. I've been doing this intentional healing work for much longer than that. So if you're new to this and it just sounds like overwhelming, just sit in for the story then and just let the magic find you where it needs to find you. Many of you have been here for quite some time. And I thank you for always returning. I thank you for telling me like, oh my God, whatever, your stories of how we've helped you, how the work has uplifted you, how the work has kept you going, kept you motivated, especially, my starseeds and there are some starseed references this week, so that may be why I'm giving this big pep talk. this big talk like I'm, your professor or something. I'm going to be Professor McGonagall. I like her. So what else? Yeah, so ebooks. So all my books come in, they're channeled. You can choose to, again, have fun with that content. So we're doing Reiki and rock. It's really fun. Has some of my favorite concepts: rock singers and rock bands, twin flames, falling in love, forgiveness work. There's some inner child healing. There is some magical work, but there's a lot of lightheartedness. I wrote it when I lived on the California coast. It has it takes place in Malibu on the California coast. It has many references to California that are like special to my heart, or the Oregon coast. I spent a lot of time on the Oregon coast. So it's just a lighthearted, fun book. There's a lot of saucy seductiveness going on in there. And there's a lot of, concepts that maybe you've been working with yourself. Addictions. Both main characters have been, especially Rob, the main character, is big time addicted to drugs and alcohol. He's a rock singer in a famous rock band. When this book channeled in, I'm going to have to do the backstory for the book so you know where it came from. But I was listening to certain rock songs and I was like, oh, I was going to write this book so bad. The main characters channeled in, Jade and Rob, and I was like, I have to do this. It was so awesome. I loved writing that book. And it was actually not the first book I ever wrote, but it was the first book I ever published. My God, with the mosquitoes. I've got to go inside. There's a giant swarm of mosquitoes. It was the first book I ever published. So we're having fun with that. And then you can read all the ebooks for free on Smashwords or at any place that ebooks are at. Apple Books, Google Books, Barnes and Nobles. They're not perfect. I went through Reiki and Rock again. I'm like, oh, there's another freaking typo. Or not a typo, but like a punctuation thing I wanted to fix. I'm like constantly fixing, grammatical little snafus and stuff in these books. It's a one-woman show here. I do all my own copy editing, all my own book design, all my own everything. It's me. So, don't worry if you find, actually, you want to do something instead of like, oh, there's another typo, like, I should just open them up as open source and let you fix them. Got it, found a typo, fix it for me. Anyway, who knows what's going on there. I guess I figure people are going to be up in arms because there's some people that are really up in arms about like, oh my God, there's a typo and wasn't this book copy edited? And it's like, you know what? Embrace the magic of the story and don't worry so much about that spelling error or whatever. I've been over these like 2 or 3 times. Okay, moving on to the other side of the house. It is interesting. I'm going around the house in a clockwise. Oh, I'm going to the bird feeder now. So we've got the audiobooks, we've got the free ebooks, and if you feel like you want a little paperback book to follow along with, some of them are in paperback, not all. Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. And I'm really working on some special edition books. I'd like to do some hardcovers of some of my favorite ones with a special edition covers. All right, onward. That's enough about that. So, and maybe it's not enough about that. Okay, it is enough about that. Like, I don't need to talk about that anymore. But I think that's what this week is about. We just had this whole freaking Jupiter-Uranus conjunction thing, and it was, as the astrologers are saying, like another eclipse, like another new moon eclipse. And so you may have felt like you are resetting goals all over again. Maybe even being asked to look at things that gosh darn it, my house, that you thought you had figured out at the beginning of the year. So just like the Patreon thing, they're like, are you sure you want your Patreon to be that way? And I was like, dang it, why are you asking me this? Now I got to re-look at this. I felt comfortable with what I was doing. And now you're kind of bringing this to me. And then we did a whole round of this would you rather. You may get this. This is kind of a fun game to play, though. Like, would you rather I'll give you an example. Would you rather go to Barcelona, Spain, or Maui, Hawaii? All these like future thinking questions. Would you rather do a one-on-one healing session with someone or do a group workshop with a bunch of people? Those are kinds of things that have been coming up, the kinds of questions. And I'm like, this is kind of fun because I quickly answer them without thinking. And then some of the answers actually surprise me to where I'm like, oh, where I thought I wanted to do something, I really don't want to do that. So you may be like, what is the word? Sussing out, teasing out. things over the next week to where you won't put them into action right away. I feel like you will start towards the weekend to take those action steps. But between now and the end of Mercury Retrograde on Thursday, you may just feel like you're in this place of like, what? Why is all this stuff coming up again for me to look at? And it's not just, would you rather. It could be emotions, things from the past. I'm like, I told y'all I was done with the shadow stuff. But it is a Scorpio moon, so it could be driving things up to the surface that you thought were handled, that might need to take a look at again and do some healing work around. And I don't really have any shows planned for the week. My week is going to be like super busy. The only thing I planned is to put some more of the audiobooks out there and record those. But if they want me to come in and do some sort of a healing session for y'all, then we might want to do something like that. A good old chakra power scrub or something will probably be needed towards the middle of the week. So with that in mind, the Rose of San Juan Capistrano, I'm going to read chapter 20. This is, it's been a while since we've been here together. Why does this sound so loud? It's like my mic is really... The settings are exactly the same, but it looks like it's super loud. It's been a while since we've been here together. And the last time we ended, we had Mr. S. We had Rosalie and Calvin. Wait a minute. The last chapter is on the audiobook. Oh, it was Mr. S. He was thinking that someone was against him. Mr. S, which I kind of think was metaphorically in this particular last chapter, chapter 19, was kind of like, have you made any plans? Are you getting your stuff together? Are you really thinking through all these questions about how you want your life to be? Do you know what your truths are? If somebody walked up to you today and said, what do you think about this? Are you able to answer those questions? I got a feeling it was a lot of like getting your ducks in a row inside yourself for all these new relationships or things that are supposed to be coming along, new business arrangements. When you meet somebody and they're like, oh, what do you think about this? It's like, you want to sit there without a freaking clue about what you think about. Like, you want to be very clear about who you are and what your priorities are and what you want. That's what I think the last chapter was about. But this one is called A Quasar Rocks the Town, and it's 22:22 on the timer. Great. I guess that's a special. We did have some special messages for Twin Flames. So if you're not caught up, we've dropped a next 2 weeks show has a lot of special messages for Twin Flames. If you haven't listened to that, that's out there. We also have Reiki and Rock chapters 1 through 6, I believe, in 2 different episodes out there now as well. Now we're going to bring in the Rose of San Juan Capistrano. We work on this almost every Sunday together now. We're on chapter 20. We've been writing this book together, channeling in chapters and bringing them to you and putting them in. There is the audiobook out there now. Chapters 1 through 19 are out there in a playlist too if you want to get caught up on the story. I know it's been a while. But let's just take this chapter as it comes without, having to go too much back in all the details of what's happened before it, other than Rosalie and Calvin are at the Whistling Gulch retreat. They're trying to work with the bear people in the Forest of Forbidden Bears against Mr. S and management only, who are here from dark forces to kind of, bring ill will and, just dark agendas into our light-filled, beautiful bringers of the light world. And Rosalie and Calvin and Greer and Catamancy and Molly McBottoms and the Rose of San Juan Capistrano are all here working for Bringers of the Light headquarters, just like you, just like me, here to spread our light and our love and our good vibiness and to foil dark plans. So that's mainly what we're doing. So this chapter is called A Quasar Rocks the Town. So I'll read it and then we'll talk about any more metaphors that might come up for you for the week ahead. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, something comes along to stump you. Something makes you stop in your tracks to take notice. Something or someone has you in a confusion. Greer, Molly, and Catamancy had no idea what they were doing next. Here they were thinking this whole silly affair should have been wrapped up by now. Yet still they waited and wondered if they would move forward with their plan, although they still weren't really sure how to do just that. They sat, heads in hands metaphorically, and racked their minds about the plan. But no plan came. Rosalie and Calvin had returned from the Hidden Foot Tavern and spent the night in quiet conversation where even Greer with his large house elf ears couldn't hear them. Was this the end of the journey? Should they just pack up and take the Rose home? She was looking a little dejected herself. Just then, a large boom rattled the windows of the Whistling Gulch retreat. Everyone jumped and startled. Guests came running out of their rooms, anxiously wanting to know what happened. Retreat staff calmly walked the halls, urging guests to return to their rooms, that everything was fine, even if they really weren't sure of that themselves. Management only smirked and slid a $100 bill across the table to a hooded figure. "We'll have more of that," he smirked as the hooded figure pocketed the cash. "And some of this." Management only slid a small detonator across the desk to the figure. "I want everyone out of here by tomorrow morning, staff included." He grinned a semi-toothless smile. The hooded figure rose and pocketed the detonator. They let themselves out the fire exit as management only sent a telepathic message to Mr. S. "All plans are taking shape as expected. Tomorrow your wish will be granted." Mr. S., who stood holding his own detonator, let off another blast of the C4 he had procured from dark forces. The blast ripped through the trees in the forest of forbidden bears, upsetting birds off their nests and throwing dead leaves into the air. Even Canton Kara, in her fairy realm, felt the jolts of the blast. It reminded her of the time in another lifetime when a quasar had destroyed her planet. The Death Star's force so strong, the planet's gravitational force spun out of control as the inhabitants of CJX-47 struggled to jettison off the dying planet. How could this be happening again? She felt her nerves kick in. Do fairies have nerves? The bear people of the forest of forbidden bears shivered, but did not budge. The time had come to initiate their plan. So they've been working on this plan with Rosalie and Calvin, and probably before even Rosalie and Calvin got there. The next chapter, I always like to channel in the title of the next chapter for next week, and chapter 21 is called Don't Mess With Us. So I think we get some of our power back towards the end of the week. Not power back, like it's always been there, but I feel like we've been pulled out into this weird state of reflection and not meditation, but like reflection. And like I said, this goal setting and, do you really still want to do that? And time to, what the heck am I seeing? Time to reset plans. Time to think about what you want again. And, if you want the same things, that's fine. It feels like it's maybe just some sort of a point in time where you're getting another chance to, like another gate has opened and you're getting another chance to reset expectations or intentions. I know, was it yesterday? Someone unexpectedly showed up in my reality. Very unexpected, very unwelcoming. And, I was like, I was telling them that. I was being very nice and kind and compassionate, but in my heart, I was like, well, this is just another indication that I still don't want this person in my reality. And I just was like, can you please get them out of my reality? Why are they still here? So it's another opportunity to reset intentions. So you may feel like some of those, like that, especially with people and relationships, like sometimes they don't leave right away, right? Like sometimes karmic cycles and things have to end, and you don't have a control over when people come in and leave your life. And I was like, to myself, I thought, here I am again saying the same thing. Major portals come around, and this person like pops back up again, and I'm like, and shows me through their actions and their words that they're still not meant to be part of the new reality that I've choose for myself. And so I have to make another statement to the universe, like, nope, still don't want that, still want these other things. And I guess that's just part of the way it works. I don't know why we have to keep sometimes asking for these things over and over and over again. But yeah, let me just ponder that. Let me just listen and see why. They're saying every gate like that is a decision point. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I do know why. They did tell me earlier. It's all part of our free will choice thing, right? So they can't interfere with free will choice. When big gates like this open up, like this Jupiter-Uranus thing, even the solar eclipse, the eclipses, stuff like Lionsgate and all that. They're just saying, we know you want these things, but you're being asked to reassess, because a lot of times with these big energy gates, there's your consciousness rises before the gates open, and decisions you made in the past might not be the same decisions you would want to make now. So you're given the opportunity to reassess and to reevaluate, especially right during retrogrades, reassess and reevaluate. Am I still wanting the things I said I wanted before? Because I said, well, I did kind of volley back like, well, if something's destined to happen, you said it's going to happen anyway, and I don't have any control over that. And they're like, you do in a sense, because you could delay things from happening. So if you were like, nah, forget it, I changed my mind, I don't want this. In a sense, you have delayed a manifestation, even though it may be something that's fated to happen or destined to happen, something that was decided pre-incarnation. You can kind of jack around a little bit with the timing of things by being wishy-washy in your intentions. So if you are very unclear, like, oh, I want that, and then another gate opens and you're like, no, not sure. It could happen because of self-doubt, limiting belief. Then you just kind of screw a little bit with your timelines, and things take longer to happen. The other thing, so that's happening again this week, reevaluating, resetting intentions, so that come next week, or even towards the end of the week, like around the weekend time, you're ready to get going on these new things. And I do get the sense in this chapter, everybody's a little down about this, like Greer, Molly, Catamancy, they're just like, is anything we're doing working? Do we just need to pack up and go home? They're like, is there even a plan? They have a plan, but they're like, when do we get to take action on this plan? Oh my gosh. It's like they've just been waiting in the wings to take action on this plan. And I feel like they haven't really gotten clear direction to do anything other than when they followed Rosalie and Calvin to the Hidden Foot Tavern with the Rose of San Juan Capistrano, and they were like waiting to do something, and then their chance didn't really come. Rosalie and Calvin seem to know there's something going on. The Forest of Forbidden Bears, the bear people seem to have this plan, although Spirit's not sharing the plan with us. So it's like somebody out there has a plan and knows what they're supposed to be doing, but they haven't really taken action yet either. My incense, I forgot where I put it, back inside. They haven't really taken action yet either. They're just talking about it all the time, right? The Hidden Foot Tavern bear people have been talking to them about the plan. Now Rosalie and Calvin come back to their room. They're just talking to themselves about the plan. Oh, there it is. There's the incense. I want to move it. And then the other thing that's quite interesting is two things, and then we'll close this show out, is the Quasar rocks the town. This whole thing with management only and Mr. S and the C4. What is he doing? You know, it's again like, you know, he works for dark forces under dark agendas. Is he purposely, and he's purposely stirring up trouble because he's trying to get people to leave Whistling Gulch Retreat, and doing it, you know, by scaring people. I think for this could be two things. Someone in your reality, like I just talked about, someone in your reality who is here trying to like mess with you and upset your nice little balance of your high vibiness and your good nature, and take advantage of your compassion and caring self and kind of suck energy from you like an energy vampire. Or it could be your own, we've talked about this too, I can't remember when. It could be your own inner demons. Oh, the last show, one of the last shows I did, we talked about inner demons. It could be your own inner demons like messing with you and trying to foil, like we just said, like the self-limiting beliefs, the disbelief. Spirit said was going to come up this week too, because we had all this hype about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and then, you know, it's a day, I think people are expecting like, oh, a day later and all these changes are going to happen, and it's like, no, apparently there's still this waiting game to where action will be required but isn't quite ready to be taken yet. There's just still a bit more planning work that has to be done. And so your own inner demons could be like, you know, this isn't going to happen. This is never going to happen for me. You could have some of that coming up this week. And then the whole past life memory with Canton Kara, like some PTSD kicking in. She had this whole weird like past life. It was such an odd thing when I channeled that. It was like she's a fairy now in the fairy realm, and she's been messing around with folks on that marked path that goes to the Hidden Foot Tavern, you know, pulling them into her realm and putting people to work, like picking berries and stuff, and not really, you know, doesn't really care. Like, who cares? I just need these people to work for me. And then she goes in, those blasts start going off, and even in her little fairy portal off the path to the Hidden Foot Tavern, it kind of rocks her world a little bit. So, you know, we're not human beings. This is, again, parrot guidance. Human beings are not the only ones affected by these changes. Other kingdoms, other worldly beings, elementals, everybody is affected by these big things like these solar eclipses, the conjunction, you know, this conjunction is some 14-year reset, all this stuff. The past life memory for my star seeds, I know planets being destroyed is a really big PTSD trigger in this lifetime. I think back to, you know, when was the virus? I don't even know anymore. Was it 2019? 2020? Whatever. But just the thought of putting a mask on brought me so much stress that I refused to wear a mask, because I had almost had anxiety attacks every time I had to put one on. And it was this same type of memory, like being taken away. In this case, for me, it was Lyra. When Lyra was destroyed, and I was part of like the royal family there, and became so clearly in a dream, but I was like one of the only ones left. Well, everyone stayed to like sacrifice themselves and jettison me off of Lyra by myself. And I was taken to some like odd offbeat planet somewhere. And because the atmosphere wasn't like Lyra, I had to wear this friggin' like mask thing all the time. And I just couldn't, it was just absolutely horrible. And the devastation of the planet being destroyed. And so when things come up with masks now, I get very anxious around having to put a mask on. And I worked a lot to clear that, but it came up the other day. I had to put on a mask, not for virus stuff, for something else. I was really dusty in the area I was in, and I had to put the mask on, and I was having a hard time breathing. My breath was like kind of short. I'm like, oh, this drives me crazy. I have to wear this thing. You know, I'm thinking back to like, oh, when I had to put that mask on. And so I had to like clear that a little bit. Like, you're okay, you're safe, you're fine, you know, everything's okay. So some of that may be coming up as part of this Scorpio full moon, some weird like past life stuff that you thought you had cleared. That's why I think they want me to come in the middle of the week and do a big chakra cleanse healing session for everyone that feels like they want to do that. All right, so let me just check in. We've gone on quite a while. Okay, so they are saying that that's all that they have. I don't have anything else either. So I'm glad that you joined me here again. Bring Us the Light Sundays is one of my favorite shows to do on the podcast, on the show. And we'll have obviously more exciting things to share, I guess, next Sunday after we've got all these decisions made that are supposed to be happening. And maybe you guys too will feel that way, like you're in a much better place come next Sunday. You've got an action plan for stuff you want to do, and you're ready to get moving and get going on that. And until then, we will see you somewhere in the interwebs, somewhere in the astrals. I thank you all so much for being here. Take care. This episode has been brought to you by Rockaway Point's newest veterinary clinic, Posh Pets. Clark Witherspoon and his familiar poodles are here to help you with all your healing needs. Be it a toenail trim or a hairball tummy trouble healing session, we have everything you need at Posh Pets.